start my presentation by making a short introduction of our research center, Innofibre. So, Innofibre is a college center for transfer of technology, CCTT. Our mission is to support the Canadian private sector in making the application. We have 29 Windows technicians. We are 12 research scientists, 13 technicians, 5 teachers, 1 administrative staff, and we have plenty of internships. Like I told you, we make applied research on cellulosic. In fact, we have two research axes. One is related to cellulosic products, and the other one is related to biorefining, bioenergy. We have a facility of more than 30 million, which include a state-of-the-art pilot paper machine with stock preparation, and we have also a pilot scale thermoformed pulp product machine. We collaborate with more than 100 industrial partners, and also with other CCTPs and universities, most of them located in Quebec province of Canada and Canada as a country. I will like to talk to you today about phosphorylation. We are not the first, we are not the last researchers working on this subject. What we bring new is our how we make this reaction and how we target the application. So, very simple. What is the phosphorylation? It's an acidification reaction which takes place between a phosphate function of a phosphate region and an alcoholic quantity, alcoholic function of cellulose or lignocellulosic fibers. And at the end, we will obtain we'll graph phosphate at the surface of this fiber, lignocellulosic fibers, to obtain what we call phosphorylated cellulose. What is special with this polar moiety we graph to the cellulose is that phosphate comes with 2 OH, acidic hydroxyl functions, which allows us to interchange with all spectrum of cations and to tailor-make all applications we need. So what is especially in our facility by making this phosphorylation, we have a patent. We make this phosphorylation in the presence of urea, in melted urea. For that reason, we need a temperature passing 140 degrees. And we make it using phosphate esters as phosphorylation region. So, what are the product characteristics we obtain after this phosphorylation reaction? Reaction is, like I told you, this phosphate moiety is grafted exclusively at the fiber surface. Why? Simple, because we make the reaction in heterogeneous conditions. We graft a lot of phosphate to the fiber surface. So if we will measure this charge, we will reach up to 6,000 millimoles per kilogram of fibers of electromagnetic charge. And another specificity, we have tried this reaction to all types, all sides and all types of spectrum of cellulosic materials, starting from thermomechanical pulp, kraft, OCC, alpha cellulose, cellulose filaments, microcrystalline, and even lumber. As we see, after the reaction, we keep the morphology and the natural appearance of unmodified lignocellulosic fibers. If we take a look on the table, we'll see the fiber length keep unchanged after the reactions. Finance content keep unchanged. We have a 15% increase in fiber diameter, which is understandable because we graft a very polar function at the molecular fiber surface. But the difference is here in terms of charge. We see the kraft fibers, originating kraft fibers, has less than 100 millimoles per kilogram of charge, electronegativity charge. After the reaction, we can put up to 6,000 charge. And what are the applications which can tailor with this phosphorylated this reaction? I will start by fire retardant behavior. So grafting phosphate to the fiber will increase the flame retardant capacity behavior of the cellulose. The first evidence which gives you a measure of this fire retardant behavior is the TGA. And if you make a TGA of phosphorylated fibers and comparing with one of unphosphorylated fibers, what we'll see that the onset thermal degradation temperature below 100 degrees Celsius earlier in the case of phosphorylated fibers than the cellulosic fibers. But at the end, we will produce a huge amount of char in the case of phosphorylated fibers comparing with unphosphorylated fibers. Because in our research center, we work, and after that we start to explain what we obtain, what we see. I have searched the mechanism of fire protection in the case of phosphorylation. And what I found is that the destabilization mechanism in the case of phosphorylated fibers comes from two complementary mechanisms. One is the stabilization of cellulosic or of polymer chain. By dephosphorylation dehydration, we create unsaturated double bonds which stabilize the chain, reducing the level of glucosan, which is volatile and combustible, flammable. And this is more chemical mechanism of protection. We have also a complementary mechanism, which is formation of phosphorus polymer shield at the surface of the fiber, which will reduce, as a consequence, the mass and heat transfer, and will fire retard the action of the flame. So we have tested LOI to the phosphorylated kraft fibers, and we see that the unmodified or kraft fibers has an LOI of 18, which is very flammable. And in our case, after the phosphorylation, we reach even a 57 in terms of LOI, which is very good. But what is more important here to observe is that is that the nature of counter-ion on the phosphate grafted on the fibers greatly influences the flame retardant behavior. So we see that we have a synergy between nitrogen and the phosphorus in terms of fire retardant properties. And another positive factor that phosphorylation gives us to the fiber is that PKF is a super insulating material in terms of thermal conductivity. Its thermal conductivity is even lower than the unmodified fibers. Why? Because PKF, due to this huge charge located at the surface, will create a repulsion between the fibers, which will create more bulky aspect, more voluminous aspects of the fibers. And on the same basis weight, we have a more thicker material, 25% more bulky, which integrate more air, and more air, that means more insulating behavior. We have tried this reaction also to a TNT case scenario, and we have focused on wood fiber board, and we have created an empiric homemade fire test. That means keep it in contact the material for 15 seconds, both faces, and after that evaluating the fire retardant response. So what we have obtained, no secret, the total combustion of TNT panel with fiber board. That means only the ashes will keep at the end. But we see a huge char formation on the surface of the phosphorylated TNT panel, and this char will keep unaffected structural integrity of the panel, and as you see on the bottom image, the interior of this panel is unaffected. So we have a real fire retardant panel made from TNT. The third application on fire retardant aspects concerning the lumber, the wood, softwood species, very current in Quebec, in Canada, and we have treated this lumber for. We have impregnated this lumber with our phosphorylation reagents, and we have cured this lumber, and we have made an empiric homemade fire test, like in the previous case, in the TNT panel. But this time we have kept it for 30 seconds in contact with the flame, open flame. And as you see on the top image, we have the untreated wood. On the edges, we see the ash formation, and we have blurred edges at the bottom where the flame was in contact with the wood. The affected height of the sample is 3/4, and if you compare with the phosphorylated lumber, we have no ash on the bottom where the flame was in contact with the lumber, and we have clear edges at the bottom. And the height of the chair, the flame, was only 25% from the bottom where the flame was in contact with the sample. Another application we have studied was absorption of heavy metals, because we have a huge charge. So we have starting this research by making a model water For the heavy metals, three forms of fibers, comparison with two ionic exchange resins, and as you see, we have PTF, phosphorylated kraft fibers in sodium form, that means sodium as counter-ion, which overpass the capacity absorption of commercially available ion exchange resin. So if for the fire retardant the ammonium form was the best, in the case of ion exchange the sodium form is the best in terms of ion exchange. So after we tested in the lab, we received a grant to study iron absorption from a depleted mine wastewater basin. Water contains a high level of iron in wastewater, almost 400 ppm, 240 in dissolved state and 150 in suspensions. And we tested with two types of phosphorylated fibers in terms of counter-ions, hybrid, that means ammonium, and sodium, for a short period of time, 5 and 20 minutes, and at low temperature to simulate the environment, 5 degrees Celsius and 20 degrees Celsius. And we see from the results that iron uptake is overpassing 90% in all cases. That means our fibers really action as a fire retardant, as an ion exchange material. Other concept we study is integrating this material in lithium-ion batteries. If you take up lithium-ion batteries and try to see the chemical composition of these batteries, you will see that chemical composition doesn't change for almost 30 years in terms of cathode, electrolyte, and anode compositions. And what we figure, we figure to integrate these phosphorylated fibers into all parts of these batteries as anode, electrolyte, and cathode by phosphorylating, and after that making absorption and thermoconversion. We can make nanocellulose by combining this phosphorylation, this chemical modification, with mechanical isolation. The advantages will be a less energetic chemical process that we know. It's more simple and then hydrolytic and oxidative methods, period and tempo. The results we have obtained is yield closing to 100%. The finest fibers we can obtain, 3-4 nanometers in average in diameter, by diameter, and also a non-negligible aspect is that we have a partial functionalized nano material. And what we can do with this nanocellulose, we can do an antibacterial nanocellulose by exchanging H+ with silver ions. We have tested in contact with E. coli. So we have a 6-log reduction in the case of nanocellulose phosphorylated using silver as counter-ion, which is closing to better than the silver nanoparticles. But the advantages in our case is that this material is more versatile than S&P. We have more applications. We can include these materials in diapers, in soil moisture, in drought area, as barrier coatings for OGR papers, hydrophobic surfaces, and chemical sensors like cells and humidity capture. Thank you for your attention.
Really very interesting talk. I'm sure there are some questions. Please.
Was it in all cases kraft fibers, or was it also TFP fibers that you have functionalized?
The results of fire retardant we have specified. We have used TNT, we have used lumber, and we have used the bleached kraft fiber.
Yes, and in this board that you made, have you added kraft, or was it just TNT?
It's TNT 100%.
And does it work just as well with TNT
Please.
What about the resorption of metal ions? Have you performed any experiment related to the resorption?
Disruption of,
Metal.
after we have ion exchange,
Yeah.
we have tested, and it's more stable than it's more difficult to dissolve the heavy metals than the commercial available iron resin.
So what kind of chemicals you have used for desorption? Or simply we have changed the pH?
To dissolve,
Yeah.
we have used EDTA because it's classic, and we have tried acidic conditions because if you keep in mind our table, we have 3 forms of cellulose, and the worst case was, in terms of absorption, was the H+, that proton form. That proton form dissociates not so good because the pKa of phosphoric acid is not so strong. It's not a strong acid. So we have some H+, which not dissociate, and we have some sites which are not available for the absorption. For that reason, we have tried to push out the absorbed heavy metals by acidic treatment. But even in that case, I think with 30% of the heavy metals just bonded to the family.
So approx 75% you can see desorption capacity. So approx 70% desorption capacity.
Exactly.
Any more questions?
I know very little about this cheaper component of treatment, but why are you studying fire retardants? Is that there some type of law that's coming that you need to improve? If you build a house of wood or what?
In Canada, everything is built in wood.
Like you.
Like here.
I guess so.
So we have a lot of fires and completely damaged houses and lives.
Can I ask you, you gave a number to start with when you said that you have about, was it 6,000 millimole charge per kilogram? And if I'm not wrong, that means that you have an effective degree of substitution that is 1 phosphorus group per annual glucose unit.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's really high.
It's really high.
Really
It's a
high.
good
So
reaction.
What kind of, when you reach that degree of substitution,